Hi, I'm Candace, and this is Fitness and Harmonies. Poses to shift your mood, or as my husband said, stop being a grump. That our moods seem unmovable. It seems like we're always going to be in this mood, and part of it has to do with the world and the weather and the things that are going on in our personal lives. But part of it is something that we may have to just go ahead and experience. Now, yoga teaches us that we should be able to ride out the waves of moods and by a steady, disciplined mind. Okay, for the rest of us, there's moods, and they make us lift up and go down. And there's sometimes we feel like we're stuck in one mood. So what we do in our yoga asana, that's our movement practice, is we use the energy of movement to move the energy of moods. So your mind has to be present. So experiencing unpleasant emotions is just part of life, but we need to balance whether we're always in one mood or we allow ourselves to sometimes allow other moods. So you go past what's happening right now sometimes and imagine the future or imagine what it would be like to feel. Just allow those other things because there's always other things going on. So there's one part of the Yoga Sutras that speaks to this in particular, and we'll talk about that later. But for now, I just want you to sit for just a moment. Inhale and exhale. I want you to ride the waves of your breath up your spine and then down. In order to inhale, this takes effort and it takes attention. We inhale all day long, and it's a little gasping breath that's influenced by our mood and our mind's unattention. But to pay attention to a deep, full, uplifting breath requires effort and attention. So our practice for today will be to refine the mind for clearer perception. This is satya, or truthfulness. Refine the mind for clearer perception for the path to the true self. 2 more slow breaths requiring attention and effort. Good, so then when you're ready, open your eyes, and I invite you to come down to a shavasana. So I'm actually going to use my blanket, because why not? I have it here, and I'm going to come down to a relaxed, lying down pose. Come all the way down. Continue your awareness breath. The poses today, I'm going to give you about 10 poses that we're going to work through. And I'm going to tell you what these poses are used for with regard to changing your mood. So that when you find yourself in a particular mood, you can try this pose. So this is going to be like a little glossary or index to move the energy. So right now, breathe in. This doesn't require quite as much effort as it did before. And breathe out. So now make your breath go farther through the channels in your body. Take about 5 breaths to slow down, to attend to the rise and the fall, the peaks and the valleys of your breath. Even though we feel stuck, even though we feel like we're held in one mood, that's really not true. We're just giving our attention to that mood again and again. And so it feels like we're always in this mood. Ride the wave. What we're trying to do is take something hard and stiff and tight and dark and make it more fluid and moving and light and airy. Begin to slowly draw your knees into your chest. Move the energy of your breath, that prana, into the low back. Now I'm going to ask you to circle your knees. So maybe push them away from you, separate your knees, pull them in towards you, and then press them back together. So with the knees together, push them away, separate them out, pull them towards you, and then back together. So make these circles out, away, around, and in. Let's do 5 slow breaths here. You can be circling these legs kind of fast, or you can go slowly. Your goal is to ride these waves of the mood so that you can get clarity, so that you can steady the mind. 2. Then roll to your side, push up, come all the way around. Let's get ready for cat-cow. So again, today's practice is going to be going through pose by pose and telling you this is what this is used for. So Shavasana, you just did Shavasana or corpse pose, do cat-cow now, was to settle you in to awareness. That's what we did. We felt grounded and we were in the moment and reality. We weren't worrying about all the other things that may be going on in our world. So now we're in cat-cow. So cat-cow is a pose or a vinyasa when you're overworked, when you have pent-up stress. Trust me, you're going to relate to every one of these things today, so don't be in a hurry to say, yeah, that's the one. But it's okay. You can always pick 3 or 4 of these poses. Cat-cow is for when you're overworked. You have pent-up stress. Because it starts to liberate, starts to give you freedom in your body. And freedom in your body allows you to change your mind. 3, we're going to do about 5 to 8 breaths in each of these poses. And who knows how much time we can go through them again. And 1. Make your way through a downward dog. Walk forward. Step 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and up into high lunge. So I have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Now the one in back, I want to just point this out as you're getting yourself situated, is pointing forward. My microphone is right in your way there. Is pointing forward. Usually in like warrior, it turns open. So it's pointing forward. That's a high lunge. Everybody knows high lunge. In high lunge or upward salute, the arms go straight up and there's a little bit of extension, a little bit of a tip backward. But the goal is to open up the chest and feel this expansiveness. So high lunge is for when you feel spacey and unsteady. Well, I feel pretty unsteady in high lunge, right? I'm on a tightrope. Maybe I'll wiggle this foot out. So when you feel unsteady, this gives you strength. So the goal in high lunge is to get into high lunge. So it may look like you're standing up, but we're not. We're going down and spreading out. So the goal of high lunge is when you're spacey and unsteady. So you need to find this groundedness. I need to be responsible for holding on to becoming emotionally and physically balanced. 2 more breaths. Remember to release your shoulders open and wide. Then we'll switch legs. So do this patiently and carefully. 1 leg forward. It's a large step back, but take a second to look back at the back foot. Make sure it's pointing forward if it can. Sink down into your high lunge. It's called high lunge, but it really feels low. Spread the fingers out so that you're really radiating energy. And then pull the shoulders down and back. Remember, the purpose of high lunge is for when you feel unsteady. So it's really incredible that I feel unsteady, yet I'm doing a pose that's teaching steadiness. That's teaching me that sometimes the ground shifts from beneath me. That happens. 3 slow breaths. So keep the elements of Shavasana. Remember, we settled into the ground. We're in this moment of reality. And then come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. So Tadasana is what we're always in. We're always standing in Tadasana. So maybe your pose for steadiness is Tadasana, which means mountain. Maybe the mountain is where you go for strength. Let's circle up, extend up and back. Come up, forward fold. Make your way back down to hands and knees. So you might do that through like a lunge or downward dog. Push back to child's pose. Take 3 steady breaths. So almost like count that the inhale and the exhale are even and smooth. Let's do this again. We'll come up to hands and knees. You'll remember, cat-cow is for when you're overworked and you have pent-up stress. So maybe we'll think of cat-cow as the stress pose. It's going to start moving energy around. Because chances are when we start getting into the limbic system and the amygdala and all those parts of the brain that don't give up, they're like angry, moody. It takes a lot of energy to move that mood. From here, come down into Sphinx pose. Now I want you to really be careful. Back extensions sometimes require more effort in the abdominals than you might think. So in Sphinx pose, elbows, forearms, and hands parallel, fingers spread out on the mat. And now think about the elbows squeezing in towards each other. The essence of Sphinx pose is that you're pulling the navel up off the floor and up towards the head. So keep working on that. Navel up and in, navel up towards the head. Now loop the shoulders back and down. Good work. Hold the neck in alignment with the spine. So you're kind of looking, I don't know, more towards your fingers than the wall in front of you. Remember, the goal here is to pull the navel up towards the spine and up towards the head. 2 more breaths. Sphinx pose is to remove self-doubt. When you have low confidence, it replenishes your energy. Make your way back into child's pose. Give that 3 breaths. Child's pose is simply a rest. You can think of it as a mini shavasana to settle in to awareness. Ooh. Let's do that again. Come all the way forward and into Sphinx pose. So learning how to get into the pose is just as important as being in the pose. Remember, arms and elbows parallel, maybe, I don't know, a foot, a little bit over a foot apart, something like that. Elbows, though, are squeezing in. Imagine you're doing one of these, elbow squeezes. Now the work is pulling the belly up. Loop the shoulders down. Put effort in breathing up and down the spine. Sustain your effort here. Sustain your attention so that you can build a path to your true self. So the purpose of Sphinx, when you feel self-doubt, low confidence, it's really about the abs and finding that core energy source. Come down. Push up into hands and knees. Move through downward dog. If I'm moving too quickly, stay where you are and catch up later. It's okay. Walk forward to forward fold. You may not hit every pose. Maybe it's just enough you're figuring your way up. Come up into standing. Tadasana. Okay, from here we're going to come into warrior. So 1 foot forward, angle one leg back. Now in warrior, it's actually even more important that you take a really wide stance because of the purpose of warrior. Turn the hips to the front foot. So you may have to use your hands to spin your hips forward. Find that. That should be a stretch as it is. And then sink down. As you're sinking down, make sure your back foot stays sealed. So no heel up off the floor in warrior. If that's true, step a little bit further forward. So warrior is not really a stretch. Warrior is about what you're saying. So reach the arms. Remember, pull the shoulders back. Remember this. Scoop the belly. Now, use your brain, use your mind, use your breath to take up more space. So warrior is about when you're worn out, when you're in your head. To me, every day at 6 p.m., whatever the time is for you, when you just go, ah. I usually go face down on the floor or on the bed or something. I go, I can't take it anymore. Warrior is when you're worn out and you're just in your head and you need more energy. I need to get through this. So as you're in this warrior saying, how long is she going to make us hold warrior? That's what we're learning, to have stamina, to find what energy is left. It's there. It's there. You're taking it in. You're circulating it around. Good. So now slowly make your way to the other side. One leg forward, angle back. Pause. See if you can get this back leg to go further back while it stays sealed. Bend the front knee. If you're getting out your measurements, it's 90 degrees here in the front knee. You could, sit something on your front thigh here and it wouldn't roll off. Use your hands to spin your hips. Boy, I'm feeling that. And then take up space. Keep waking up your mind. Warrior One is all about the word warrior. Virabhadrasana, vira, virility, strength. It's about being sure that I can withstand this next. So whatever the next turbulent storm that's coming at me, I can withstand that. So warrior is teaching us to hold on, hold in, pull in. Find your own inner resource and dig in. Soften the shoulders because you're confident, right? You're confident because of Sphinx pose. You know who you are. You've got these strong abs. 2 slow breaths. I know you want to come out of this. I don't blame you. And then come back to Tadasana. So anytime you come to Tadasana, and this includes when you're standing there by your coffee pot, waiting for it. Always wiggle your toes and kind of like you're reacquainting your brain to your feet. Because your feet, they do a lot of work for you. And even in yoga, we don't focus on them that much. But the feet are the roots. Circle up. Extend back. Hold this for a breath or two. Remember that high lunge when we're opening up and we felt spacey? Then forward fold. We're coming all the way down to hands and knees pose. However you get there safely. Let's go through cat-cow. Cat-cow is for when you're overworked. You have pent-up stress. I know you're going to remember this one. Cat-cow is when you're overworked. Pent-up stress. 3, 2, 1. Make your way down to your belly. All right, so let your head rest. Try not to sort of look at me. Widen your knees out, but bend your knees. Now just wave your feet around. I'm not going to tell you, just kind of rock these legs this way and that. Let's do about 10 breaths here. We're not really doing anything now except transitioning. I want you to honor the changes that have already happened in your practice. You could go into Shavasana right now and get the benefits, but we're going to keep going because I know you want a couple more tools to go back to again and again for when you're feeling that unsteadiness and you need more energy, you're feeling stress. Now, leave the feet kind of dangling up there. See if you can push off with your hands to lift your head and chest up a little bit. If you can't, if that compresses and hurts the low back, stay low. No reason to come up. Try holding yourself with one arm so the other arm can reach back. It might be that you can reach this foot. So give yourself a break. You might be able to really bend this back knee and find your foot. You might take a moment to find your strap and lasso the foot, or you can't reach it at all. So this is called half bound frog. And the purpose of all the frogs, there's several frog poses, is for when you're intense and angry. Intense and angry. You'll notice that all the poses that have to do with the deep emotions, not the things that are just sort of happening right now, are hip stretches. They're hip movements. Our pelvis holds those deep, seated, strong, those sustained moods. I'm giving you plenty of time to work on this. Recognize that the Yoga Sutra, for example, gives us a path, and the change is happening. Even if you don't know the path, you're still on it. And then release. See if you can try the other side. So go slow. Don't assume that this side is going to be the same. You got it? I see you got it. All right. If you can and want to, by all means, relieve the upper body. Let the upper body come back down. You don't always have to be an extension. The poses are part of a journey or a path. They're not the end. If you could do every pose perfectly, you wouldn't have enlightenment. It doesn't work that way. Enlightenment is the work that you're doing on the inside, on the journey. So you're actually getting more benefit if you can't get in the pose, because you're having to discover. The Yoga Sutra says to refine the mind, we have to have friendliness towards those who are happy. Well, that's easy. We're all happy here and friendly. Compassion to those who are suffering. Delight in those who do good. One more breath. And then release that leg. Okay, so that was half frog. And all the frogs, we're going to come back to it. It's when you're angry. It's to open the pelvis. Push back to child's pose. Boy, that low back needs that. The Yoga Sutra tells us to be non-judgmental. Observation to those who do harm. For me, this is the most difficult one. Those who do harm, however you see that. Non-judgmental observation. In other words, you're going to keep an eye on them. We're aware. But you're going to let them be. So fine-tune now. This pose. Remember in child's pose, it's a transition, it's a settling in, it's for groundedness. So fine-tune to a new level of resonance. So what's humming? What do you feel? Let's do 3 more breaths. My low back and sacrum felt that frog pose. That was a deep one. Inhale all the way in. Remember, even if it takes effort, stay committed to it. Come up to hands and knees. Let's step one leg through and grab my blocks. Remember that high lunge? We're just going to hold here for 2 or 3 breaths just to move. Remember that high lunge? The high lunge was when you're spacey and unsteady. So this might be one way to steady you. And then change legs. Keep opening up. Keep all of the lessons from cat-cow. Remember, overwork stress. High lunge, unsteadiness, you needed strength. Sphinx, you had low self, you had this self-doubt, this low confidence. From here, we're coming up. So lift off the back knee. Either step forward or just stand up. And then make your way all the way up. We're coming up to really my favorite type of poses, and that's the balancing poses, and here's why. As you're getting your toes ready in Tadasana, let me remind you why balance is important. Well, from a physiological standpoint, it keeps you from falling and hurting yourself, and that's a really serious thing. But balance is really important because not everything is just one. We don't ever just stay. So balance requires us to get out of everything else and come into this. Just balance. Just bring one leg up and pause there. See if you can hang on to that. Remember when we just did Tadasana and I asked you to move your toes around? Try that. The toes on the floor. Move them around. Now try bending the supporting knee a few times. Give me a couple of bounces. Okay, that's proving to yourself that you have a little bit of control out of the world where all that other stuff is happening into this inner world where you not only have control, but you can begin to balance. All right, hold steady now. See if you can kick that leg behind you and grab it. Remember we just did this? See if you can grab it. Everything's changed. So we're moving into dancer pose. Kick the knee back and behind you. Push the foot into your hand. That should slightly extend your spine. Hold that. Take your other arm forward with your palm facing up. And beautifully now. Extend that arm as you lift the leg and tip forward. Now 30 degrees forward. So imagine your front arm and your back leg are making kind of like a V, something that's receiving. Open up your chest. Dancer pose is to balance you when you're unbalanced. It's beautiful. It's like you're soaring through air. For me, it reminds me I'm soaring above all that stuff. That's all down there, the muck and the mud. And I'm soaring above it. Let's come all the way down. I see you working. You're doing good. Balance on the other leg. Wiggle the toes on the floor. Press all 5 toes down, then bounce the knee. Just kind of go down up a few times. This little exercise, maybe do some more of this while you're waiting for your coffee today, is really good to train the ligaments in the knee to prevent knee injuries. Take the leg behind you. Catch the foot. Remember that half frog. Try, once you catch your foot, to keep the knee pointing down and not let it come out to the side. You might start there, but then see if you can get it down. From there, kick the knee back and behind you, behind the body. Hold there. Keep squaring the hips. Take this other arm in front, palm up, and then fly. So if you want to, begin lifting, tipping, and opening. So it's like a flower to me. Opening out and up and collecting this rainwater, which is a beautiful thing. And then fly through the air, balancing you. 3. And release. Wow. I'm going to come to forward fold. So let's try that. Forward fold. And so, because I felt that in my glutes. Now, I just know, that's me. My glutes are always on. So I'm going to give that a little bit extra stretch here by widening my feet, bending my knees, and really hanging my upper body. And then I'm going to play around with kind of lifting these hips up, stretching through the back of the leg. So your results may be different. You may feel this in the side of the leg. You may feel this the inner thigh. All right, let's come down to a low lunge. Remember, that's 1 foot forward, 1 knee on the floor behind you. I'm going to come off my mat here. Leave a little bit of space in front of you. All right, so another balancing pose. Lift the back knee, hold. Now sort of tip forward like you're about to leap or jump forward. Like you're going to come back up and off this back leg. Just give that a moment to kind of figure it out. All we're doing is training this front leg to balance. This one's half moon. Half moon is for when you're oversensitive. You're the one who's absorbing everyone's negative emotions around you. So I can't leave this out. Half moon. I'm going to use my block, put it in front of me a foot or two, lean forward and put the hand on it. Same hand as the leg. Same hand as that leg. Try balancing on this leg. Try lifting the back leg up. Try straightening and hold. I'm putting this foot on the floor at a little bit of a diagonal so that I can help myself balance as I stretch this arm out to the side. And that's it for today. Half moon pose for when you absorb everyone else's emotions. It forces you back to equanimity, meaning, what about me? What about giving me some of that nurturing love and support? Come all the way back down. Switch legs. So you come through this low lunge. Pause. Set up your block. If you want a block, you don't need one. Lift the back knee. Now here's where you just play around. Like you're sort of kicking forward, like you're going to leap, like you're going to jump onto this front leg. This is another good example of training the calf and the shin for balancing poses. When you're ready now, push into this block or the floor, lift the back leg, balance steady. Then straighten this front leg. Get your balance. Maybe this time I'm going to move my block. Then stretch this other arm out to the side like an airplane wing. Two. All right, so make your way all the way back down to a seated pose. Come into boat pose, so lift off. We're flying again. We're back into that strength. Remember the high lunge? Remember the high lunge. It was all about strength and holding and stamina for when you're unsteady. Boat pose too. Strength, core, confident, and then come all the way down to the back. So twist the knees and hips to one side. Stretch the arms overhead. Four. Three. Two. One. And then make your way to the other side. So all of these poses where we're lying on the back are like Shavasana in that the purpose is to settle you in. The shift in your mood has already happened. Maybe your mind isn't there, isn't watching it yet. You're still figuring out, are we playing Twister? What was that half moon business? So these poses are to settle you back in, to ground you so you can be in this moment, practicing friendliness towards those who are happy, compassion to those who are suffering. Delight in those who do good, and non-judgmental observation to those who do harm. Bring your feet back to center. Okay, I got one more pose for you here. Bring your feet into the floor. So we did like a frog bow pose. We're going to do that bow pose again. Lift your hips up. This is called upward bow. So the bow was like a U shape before. This time it's going to be more of an arch. For some of us, this is it. This is bow pose. That's enough. I want you to be super careful here because you need very, very strong arms. We've not really practiced this. Take your arms and face them up at the ceiling, then bend at your elbows so that your fingertips come underneath your shoulders. So really turn underneath. This is where I got to move my hair out of the way. Get the palms on the floor, if they do. I know some of the shoulders out there, some of the shoulders don't do this. Push with your feet, push with your hands. If you can lift off, lift off. If you can't, don't. I'm going to give this 3 breaths for you to push. Maybe you don't lift off, and that's fine. This is upward bow. Come all the way down, or wheel. In yoga, a lot of times we call that wheel pose. The purpose of that is when you're stuck in a habitual pattern, because there's no way that didn't get your attention. Let's come all the way to Shavasana now. Relax your body now. All those lessons, restoring your body from being overworked, reminding your body how to be steady and strong, how to build confidence and replenish your energy. All of those lessons are being absorbed in your heart now. After having felt worn out and stressed, intense or angry, you now feel peace. Honor that shift. And for a moment, go to a favorite place. Come with me for a moment. Let's go to a library. Look at the books, the sounds, what you might be looking at, or touching, or reading. What's it feel like? Now come with me now to the ocean. It's a beautiful day, it's warm, but breezy. And the beautiful color and the movement of the water, and the sun, and the sand. And it feels refreshing. Now come with me and imagine that you're with all of your friends. You're laughing. You know how this feels. You feel welcome, accepted, appreciated, validated. You might be with family. There's love, warmth, caring, a bond. How does it feel? Thinking about all of those places and all of those feelings, go down a path from those intense negative moods to that place. Go down the path to feeling peace in your favorite place. Be there now. for another moment, just commit to being in peace, even if it requires effort, even if you have to ignore something. Simply recognize that there's a pathway to those happy feelings. Even in the most turbulent waters, there's always a pathway. Relax your body again. You are no longer stuck. All of those places in your body that need to release pent-up emotion have been stimulated. You can do this anytime you need. Keep the body still for another couple of breaths, but I want you to wake up like you're studying with your eyes wide open, studying the body feeling at peace. Don't let your mind disturb you. Concentrate. I invite you to press off the floor with your eyes now open. I invite you to come to a seat. So remember, Sukhasana, easy pose. It's the pose for us to reach this enlightenment. Palms together, touch the heart. Inhale and circle up, stretch up. Fill those lungs, fill. Exhale, let everything radiate outward. I honor you and your new mood. Namaste.